As you have asked a question, one of you, is how can we remember those? Good question, right? When we are discussing lesson, you're asking, can we remember this? I'm talking about science only, but you have to remember the stuff in another 8 subjects, right? හොඳ මතක තියාගන්න. හරි. So, අපි මෙහෙම ගමු. First we'll learn how do we lose our memory, right? Now, can you remember the things that you uh, have taken for your dinner last night? Yes, most of you can. Day before last, day before yesterday. Can you remember the things that you had for your breakfast, lunch, and menu? Kevin Kalpana karna. Hari, most probably we can't. So, memory is the storage of information by the brain, right? So, we consider, there are different parts of the brain. I'm not in the parts of the brain. Basically you have learned that there are 2 cerebral hemispheres, right? And then the cerebellum and the medulla oblongata. Likewise, there are different areas which are responsible for the handling of memory, right? So you will learn about this later. So it is not handled by a single area. There are different areas such as hippocampus, amygdala, cerebellum, then also the prefrontal cortex, also the cerebral cortex. If I show you an image of this, because you are not learning that much at this level about the brain. Got a question related to memory now. පාඩම් කරන්නේ කොහොමද මතක තියාගන්න? Actually, I have mentioned these daily, right? Okay, we'll take something like this. So here you are shown different parts of the brain which are responsible for this memory, right? So as I mentioned, the amygdala, the cerebellum, hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, the cerebral cortex, likewise. But here we have to focus not on the parts of the brain, but how to remember the things. මතක තියාගන්න මෙච්චර subjects නමයක් උගන්වනවා කොහොමද මේ දේවල් මතක තියාගන්නේ කියලානේ අහන්නේ. Right. So forgetting is පුතේ something essential, right? Then හිතන්න, if you can remember the people you met now today is Saturday, during the last week, the people you met on your way to school and way back to home, can you remember these people? So if we can remember those people that we met, it is a problem, right? So forgetting is something essential which is carried out by the brain, right? The brain trims unnecessary details. It will save our energy, right? So otherwise, if we can remember the things that we ate 1 month ago, 1 week ago, that's a problem, right? So the brain trims the unnecessary information, right? The unneeded information, right? And it will avoid confusion as well, right? Now think of the people that you have to recognize and the people you don't remember. If you can remember all of this, there is a confusion, right? The information you get from morning until you go to sleep, you can remember all of this, there will be a very big confusion, right? So to avoid that, the things should be erased, right? And once the unnecessary things are removed, we can be efficient. We can remember the stuff that we need, right? So forgetting is something essential. Now then කොහොමද පාඩම් කරන දේවල් මතක තියාගන්න, right? අන්න එන්නේ අපි බලන්න ඕනේ The memory becomes weak once we don't pay much attention, right? Once we don't pay much attention, the memory becomes weak, right? එතකොට දැන් you are you're just pumping different information to the brain, right? So after that, if you don't use them in regular basis, what will happen? And here these are the things that you have loaded. We'll say like this. Think that these are the data that you have loaded, you have input to the brain last week, right? Then this old memory can be interfered with the new information that you store, right? You pump some new information, right? Then what happens? The old memory comes fade, right? Old memory becomes fade once you pump new information. If you want to remember the stuff that you have learned earlier, what do you have to do? You have to recall them in regular basis, right? Recall them in regular basis, because if you don't use this, these will be erased, right? Because the unused information becomes fade. That is a mechanism carried out by the brain for our efficiency, right? Then if you don't pay much attention to the things, right? There are so many things happening around us, but for certain things we don't pay much attention, so we can't remember those, right? If someone asks, can you remember this particular incident, if you hadn't paid any attention, then you can't remember that, right? So the lack of attention erases the memory fades if you haven't paid more attention. අමතක වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා දැනගත්තාම එහෙනම් මතක තියාගන්න මොනවද කරන්න කියලා දැනගන්න ලේසියිනේ. Then actually there are some other physical factors as well, like lack of sleep, mental stress, and also due to aging, naturally the memory can be reduced. That is why you are asked to have a proper sleep. Then නින්දක් ගන්න ඕනේ in order to remember the things that you have learned, right? That is why you are asked not to study overnight before an exam, right? To store the things in your long-term memory, you have to have a proper sleep as well. Hari. So then let's focus on what we have to do in order to retain our memory, right? What are the things that we have to do? So I am always mentioning these, my classes, right? So what I ask you every week, and during each class, I am asking you to revise the things that we have learned within 2.5 hours on the same day itself. Now, first one is when I'm explaining, when you are learning the things, you have to pay attention, right? How to pay attention. So to keep your attention, yes, we are discussing the things, I'm asking questions from you, you have to answer, and also I'm sharing videos for the topics that we are discussing, right? We use different diagrams, right? So you have to pay attention and organize the things in a proper manner, organize, right? We write notes, we do exercises, we do calculations, we draw diagrams and label them. That is to organize. You pay attention and organize the information, right? Then on the same day itself, you have to revise the things that we have discussed within 2.5 hours in the class. You have to revise them within half an hour or within less than half an hour, 20 minutes. And you all can find 20 minutes before you go to sleep today. Busy කවුරුත් නැනේ. You can revise the things. You can highlight, underline. So you can remember the videos you watched, the things I mentioned, right? related to the lesson, and sometimes we discuss some extra topics like this. එතකොට මේක කියන වෙලාවේ මෙහෙම දෙයක්ත් කිව්වා කියලා. ඒ ඔක්කොම ඔයාලට හොඳට long term memory එකට යනවා. Right? So paying attention and organizing the information during the class or at school when you are learning the things. When your teacher teaches, you have to pay attention. Right? Then second one is you have to recall in regular basis, right? You have to recall the thing regular basis. That's what I mentioned. You have to revise on the same day itself, and also before you join the next class, sometimes I have given homework questions. So you have to go through them. For the next week, you have to once again go through the things that you had learned last week and also the previous lessons. Right? That's why I have asked you to make a timetable of your own. You are the person who know that after school what are the things that I have to do. So accordingly, you can divide the available time at least half an hour for one subject, right? And you have to revise the previous subject matter as well. Then revise කරනවා කියන්නේ note එක අරගෙන පාඩම් කරන එක විතරක් නෙවෙයි. The best method I have mentioned is you can take some MCQs and answer those, right? You can answer these. And I have mentioned about a checklist that you have to prepare. මම classes වල කියලා දීලා තියෙනවානේ. checklist එක හදන හැටි. එතකොට තැනින් තැන MCQ ටිකක් ගත්තහම එක පිළිවෙලට නෙවෙයිනේ ප්‍රශ්න අහලා තියෙන්නේ. So they have asked questions from different lessons. So you answer the questions first, and while you are answering, you feel that I haven't forgotten this particular lesson. Then at the end of answering the MCQs, you can take your notes, maybe from the 4th unit. Right? You just revise that topic. So you have written the main topic and the subtopics. So once you have revised that particular subtopic, you can put a tick in front of that. Right? That is how you maintain the checklist. Right? ඒ ඔක්කොම කියලා දීලා තියෙන්නේ මුලදීම. අලුතෙන් ආපු කවුරු හරි ඉන්නවා නම් අපේ වීඩියෝ දෙනවා. Can refer those. එතකොට on a recall in regular basis. Right? Then you have to access regularly the information. Access කියන්නේ once you are trying the questions, you have to recall that memory. You access that those lessons that you had learned, access regularly. You have to use them, use that knowledge, previous knowledge practically. So එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? දැන් අර මම ඉස්සෙල්ලා කිව්වා වගේ then once you load new information, the previous information fades. Then what you have to do is you have to take them to the top once again by recalling as well as access that information regularly, regular basis, right? These are the things that you have to do. Okay, so now actually these things we practice daily in our classes. Some parents ask when they are going to join newly to our classes, can you retain the attention of the students when you are doing an online class, right? Yes, I can, because in my online classes, I always ask you to keep your videos on, right? Some of the classes I have seen that even sometimes even the teacher does not open the video, turn on the video. And the students, when the students turn on the videos, some students can't see the board or certain connection issues occur. Therefore, because the bandwidth becomes less, therefore the teacher asks to turn off the video. But in here, I am always asking you to turn on the video, right? So I can see all of you separately on a separate screen. Therefore, if you lose your attention, I feel දැන් ඔය හරි ගිහිල්ලා වගේ තේරුණොත් එතන වාඩි වෙලා හිටියට හිතින් වෙන කොහේ හරි ගිහිල්ලා වගේ තේරුණ ගමන් I just ask a question or I ask you to share the note at the same time. නේද වැඩ කරලා නැහැ වගේ පේනවා. මම කියනවා මේ වෙලාවෙම note එක එවන්න කියලා. I take the attention back, and in order to organize the things, we draw the diagrams, we label the things, write answers for the questions, right? And we watch videos. And තව අහන ප්‍රශ්නයක් videos පෙන්නනවාද කියලා. Practicals කරනවාද කියලා අහන videos පෙන්නනවාද කියලා නෙමෙයි. Yes, the practicals, we share the videos, right? You watch the videos related to the practical. I think, and to check whether you have recalled the memory, we are having assessments within the class. ඉතින් පුතේ ඕගොල්ලෝ ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ පැත්තෙන් වෙන්න ඕනේ ටික හරියට කරන්න. හරිද? එතකොට ඕගොල්ලෝ අද දවසේ දැන් මේ කරන ටික අදම බලා ගන්න. right? ඊට පස්සේ ඊළඟ සතියේ එන්න කලින් ආයෙත් සැරයක් බලා ගන්න. ඊළඟට අර ටයිම් ටේබල් එකේ ඔයාලට සයන්ස් වල කරලා තියෙන ටයිම් ස්ලොට් එකේදී you can revise the previous lessons, right? අනේ විදිහට හරියට වැඩ ටික කරගෙන ආවහම I will do my part. කියන්නේ the revision questions, the assessments. Before your school term tests, we are having the term assessment class. I think මේ වැඩ ටික ඔක්කොම ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැන් අමාරුයි කියලා හිතන්න එපා. ඉස්සෙල්ලාම to pay the attention, you have to have an interest related to the things that you are learning, right? හරි විදිහට වැඩ ටික කරගෙන යන්න. එහෙම පාඩ අමතක වෙන්නේ නැහැ. වෙන දේවල් අපිට මතකේ තියාගන්න ඕනේ information you have to take to the top once again by recalling, right? That's the method. හරිද කෙවින්?